Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Hub back into the video today, and today the Phoenix Suns are signing Isaiah Thomas to the remainder of season contract after signing two 10-day contracts. Two-time All-Star, one-time All-NBA, and one-time All-Rookie NBA will be with the Suns for the last 4 games, and will have a spot on the Suns playoff roster, which is obviously really good for him. And his NBA comeback is complete because he has gotten himself an NBA contract, which is, I think, the best situation, for him, and what's happened for him. So I guess for him, you can just hope to maybe get some more minutes before the playoffs happen in the final 4 games of the season, and then maybe some blowouts happen in the playoffs for the Suns, whether it's in their favor or not in their favor, and he gets to show himself in the playoffs, because he's not going to get rotation minutes, but he might get some minutes if the Suns crush an opponent or they get crushed. Definitely, they have capable of crushing an NBA team with the firepower they have in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. But I think that Thomas has been really solid, but just has not really gotten a chance with the Suns. But I think they've seen enough from him in really low minutes to know that he could be a decent piece for them in playoffs if they need it. I mean, if someone gets injured or, if anything happens, he's definitely someone who could help them out. In only 4 games with the Suns, and only averaging 3 minutes per game, he averaged 1.3 points per game. He averaged 1 assist per game. His field goal percentage was 33%, and from 3, he shot 50%. Now, before that, he last played in the 2021-22 season with the Lakers and the Mavericks and the Hornets, where he averaged 9 points per game. He averaged 2 assists per game, 2 rebounds per game, and this was only in 22 games, by the way. But averaged 8.4 points per game, 2 assists per game, 2 rebounds per game. From 3 with the 3 teams, he shot 34%, and field goal percentage was 41%. 2020-21 season with the Pelicans, in 3 games, 16 minutes per game, 33% field goal percentage. From 3, he shot 26%. He averaged 7.7 points per game, and he also averaged 2 assists per game and over 1 rebound per game. The 2019-20 season with the Wizards was one of his last good seasons. He averaged 12.2 points per game with the Wizards, also averaging 4 assists per game and 2 rebounds per game. From 3 with the Wizards, he shot 41.3%, and his field goal percentage was 41%. And then go back to the 2017-18 season with the Cavs and the Lakers. He averaged 15 points per game with the 2 teams. He also averaged 5 assists per game. And then, obviously we all know about the 2016-17 season from Isaiah Thomas, where he was an MVP candidate, finished 5th place in MVP voting, also was an All-Star, and finished 5th place in Most Improved voting as well. He averaged 29 points per game, he averaged 6 assists per game, and he averaged over 2.5 rebounds per game. His field goal percentage with Boston in the 2016-17 season was 46%. From 3, in that year, he shot 38%. And we all know the downhill for Isaiah Thomas in that 2016-17 season. It was a series event where it started off in the postseason that year, where sadly before the first round started against the Chicago Bulls, I remember this very specifically, Isaiah Thomas's sister passed away in a car accident. And that was really tough for IT, but he still managed to make a comeback. And although he was dealing with a huge loss, he went out there. I remember watching this Game 1 against the Chicago Bulls, and it was either Game 1 or it was Game 2. He absolutely went crazy. He had an amazing performance. I remember he went at least over 30 it was around the 30, it was around 40, I believe, that Isaiah Thomas had that night. It was either Game 1 or Game 2 against Chicago. They start off that series, I remember this, they started off that series down 0-2, they were down 0-2. And Isaiah Thomas led them back to win the next 4 games and head off to the second round. Isaiah Thomas was dominant in the 4 games that the Celtics won, leading up to the series win against Chicago, taking down Jimmy Butler of the Bulls. I know if you weren't watching the NBA in 2016 or 2017, Jimmy Butler and the Bulls, that might sound a little bit weird. Then they went on to face his now teammate Bradley Beal in the Washington Wizards and alongside John Wall. That was a 7-game series against Washington where the Celtics won in 7 games. Now, at some point in the playoffs, I don't remember if it was in the first, I believe it was in the Chicago series, but it might have been the Washington series. This is not a huge thing that happened in the Isaiah Thomas downfall, but Isaiah Thomas, this is just an interesting part. After losing his sister in the car accident, he also, in-game, gets I think it might have been, he got a tooth knocked out, but it might have been two. It might have been, multiple, teeth that got knocked out of his mouth. And I think he had to have some surgery on his mouth because of that. And, everything's fine. They're after the Game 7 win against Washington. I remember watching that game. I was actually in a hotel watching that game. That was a great game against Washington, that Game 7. I was so excited for it, too. I mean, I was probably 9 or 10. But so then leading to the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron and Kyrie and the Cavaliers was not a huge series at all because I believe Cleveland swept them, but it might have been a 5-game series. You know what? Boston won 1 game. I remember them. They were down 2-0, and they won the Game 3. Avery Bradley hit a huge shot in Game 3, game winner. There was 0.4 or 3 seconds left on the shot clock after Avery Bradley hit the huge shot. But at some point in that series, it might have been Game 4 after that Game 3 win, or it might have been Game 5. Isaiah Thomas suffered a very bad hip injury, which caused him to miss the remainder of that series. I believe it was the Game 3 or Game 4 because I remember he wasn't playing in that elimination game in the Eastern Conference Finals, which the team that he got injured and hurt his hip. That offseason, he ends up getting traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, the team he just lost to in the playoffs. That loss was already tough enough for him. Now, I've seen some clips about him talking about how, it really hurt him when the Celtics traded him to the Cavs. So then he goes to Cleveland. It wasn't, obviously Isaiah Thomas was great with Boston. Cleveland wasn't expected to be as good as they were with IT than they were before with Kyrie, but it was still expected that Isaiah Thomas and LeBron would be a nice duo, and Isaiah Thomas just could never stay healthy after that. With Cleveland and LA that next season, 2017-18 season, he could not stay healthy, and he found himself going from team to team after just having a MVP type season. Definitely should have been more considered for the MVP. I mean, there were guys like James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, and I believe LeBron James was another player talked about an MVP race that year in the 2016-17 season. But I think he should have been more considered for that MVP award with the way he played. And now all of a sudden he's finding himself he can't even make an NBA roster. And then at one point, he just found himself completely out of the NBA. He joined the G League team earlier this year. I think February something it might have been, or early March, whenever it was. And he plays so well in the G League. I think he scored 60 or he had some monster performance in the G League. I think he dropped 60 or 65, something like that in the G League. He gets picked up by the Suns, immediately signs a 10-day contract. Then he signs a second 10-day. And now here we are. He's signing a remainder of the season contract. Let me know your thoughts on the signing for the Suns in the comment section, and peace out.